In a small mountain town, far from the rush of cities and the noise of ambition, there stood an old school made of stone and wood. Its walls were cracked, its windows foggy, and its classrooms smelled faintly of chalk and old books. Yet it was filled with memories, laughter, learning, and a man whose voice had once guided generations. Mr. Raman, the most beloved teacher the town had ever known. Mr. Raman had taught there for over 40 years. His students remembered him not for strictness or authority, but for his patience, kindness, and the sparkle in his eyes whenever he spoke about life. For him, teaching wasn't a job, it was a promise. A promise to turn children into good human beings before they became successful adults. But time, as it always does, moved on. The young became old, the students became parents, and the teacher's hair turned from black to silver. Then one day, an announcement spread across the town. Mr. Raman was retiring. The news hit everyone differently. Some smiled in nostalgia, some felt sadness, and some, like his last batch of students, couldn't imagine school without him. On his last day, the classroom looked brighter than usual. Every student had brought flowers, cards, and little gifts. The blackboard had a message written in big, shaky handwriting. "Thank you, sir, for everything you taught us." Mr. Raman walked in slowly, his steps soft, his hands trembling slightly. The class stood up, clapping. His eyes glistened. "Sit down, children," he said with his familiar warmth. "Today, I will teach you one last lesson, the most important one." The students exchanged curious looks. What could this last lesson be? They had already learned math, science, history, and everything else he had to offer. But they knew. When Mr. Raman spoke, it was never just about the subject. It was about life. He looked out the window where sunlight poured across the schoolyard. Birds chirped on the old mango tree outside, the same one under which he had sat with hundreds of children over the years. "Children," he began softly, "in 40 years of teaching, I have learned one truth. People forget what you say. They forget what you do. But they never forget how you make them feel." He paused, letting the words sink in. "Do you know what that means?" A boy raised his hand shyly. "Sir, it means kindness stays longer than knowledge?" Mr. Raman smiled. "Exactly, Ravi. The world is full of clever people, but it needs kind people more." He sat down slowly and began to tell them a story, one he had never told before. "When I was young, I was not the man you see today," he said. "I was impatient, proud, always chasing success. I wanted to prove myself. After my degree, I got a job in a big city school. High pay, big name, and a chance to show how good I was. In that class, there was a boy named Anil. He was quiet, always sitting in the last row. His clothes were worn out, his shoes torn. He never brought lunch. The other children avoided him. I thought he was lazy because he never did his homework properly. One day, I scolded him in front of everyone. I told him he'd never achieve anything if he didn't try harder. He didn't say a word, but I still remember the look in his eyes, hurt, deep, and silent. Weeks later, the principal called me. He said Anil's mother had died. His father was a laborer who could barely afford food. The boy worked after school to help him. I felt something break inside me. I realized how blind I had been. I had judged him without knowing his struggle. Mr. Raman's voice trembled. That night, I went to Anil's home, a small hut near the river. I apologized. I helped him with his studies every evening after school. Slowly, he began to smile again. Years later, he wrote me a letter. He had become a doctor. In that letter he wrote, "Sir, your kindness saved me when I had nothing left. You taught me more than any book could." He paused and took a deep breath. That was the day I understood the true purpose of teaching, or maybe of living, to help others rise when they fall. As he finished the story, a soft knock came on the classroom door. Everyone turned. Standing there was a man in his 40s, wearing a simple suit and holding a bouquet of white lilies. His eyes were full of tears. "May I come in, sir?" the man said. Mr. Raman looked closely, his face lighting up. "Anil, is that you?" The students gasped. It was the same boy from his story, now a grown man, successful and gentle-looking. "Yes, sir," Anil said, walking forward. "I heard it's your last day. I had to come. I couldn't let the man who changed my life retire without one last thank you." He placed the flowers on the teacher's desk and touched his feet. "You once told me life is not about what we get, but what we give. I built a free clinic in your name in our village. Because of you, hundreds of poor people get treatment now." Tears rolled down Mr. Raman's face. The class fell silent. "My dear boy," he said softly, "you've given me the greatest gift, proof that kindness never dies." After Anil left, Mr. Raman turned to the class again. "Children," he said, his voice trembling, "you may become doctors, engineers, or leaders one day. But if you forget gratitude, you'll lose everything that makes you truly human." He wrote on the board one final sentence. "Success is not about how high you climb, but how many people you lift along the way." He turned back, smiling. "This is my last lesson. Be grateful for what you have and share it. Gratitude turns ordinary days into blessings and mistakes into lessons. Never take people for granted. Your parents, your friends, your teachers. One day you'll wish you had thanked them sooner." Time moved forward again. The old school changed. New paint, new teachers, new students. But one thing stayed: the memory of Mr. Raman's last class. Every year, on the same date, the students gathered near the mango tree to remember him. Some brought flowers, some brought stories. And then one winter morning, years later, news spread. Mr. Raman had passed away peacefully in his sleep. The town fell silent. Even those who had not met him for decades felt something heavy in their hearts. His students came from far and wide, doctors, soldiers, writers, and workers, all to attend the funeral of the man who had shaped their souls. At the ceremony, Anil stood again by the coffin, holding a framed photo of his teacher. He spoke softly to the crowd. "Sir once told us that gratitude is the bridge between pain and peace. Today, as we say goodbye, I realize his lessons will never leave us. He didn't just teach us how to read and write, he taught us how to live." After the funeral, the town decided to rename the school Raman Memorial School. On the front wall, they placed a plaque engraved with his last words: "Be grateful, be kind, and always leave people better than you found them." Every morning, children touched the plaque before entering their classrooms, as if seeking his blessing. And whenever life felt heavy, those words reminded them what really mattered. Gratitude is not just about saying thank you. It's about feeling thankful for the people who guide us, the struggles that shape us, and the simple moments that make life meaningful. Mr. Raman's story teaches us that the richest people are not those who have the most, but those who appreciate the most. His last lesson wasn't written in any book. It was written in the hearts of his students. Because in the end, life's true meaning lies not in what we achieve, but in what we give, and how much love we leave behind. Lesson: gratitude turns ordinary lives into extraordinary stories. Never forget those who helped you become who you are, because appreciation is the purest form of love.